Show me.
I'm the martial arts film freak, and I watched Mulan. Finally.
Every family must contribute one man to fight.
You're a war hero. You've already made many great sacrifices.
My father cannot fight, so I will take his place.
Mulan is a 2020 film, finally dropped to Disney Plus thanks to COVID. It was probably supposed to come out back in, I think, like May or something, but no, we had to wait 4 extra months. The film was directed by Nikki Caro and stars a lot of people, most of whom I have to read, even though I already knew who they were and I just don't know how to pronounce their names. Yifei Liu, Donnie Yen, of course, Li Gong, Jet Li, of course, all these ones I already knew, Jason Scott Lee, of course, Yosun An, I'm guessing is how you pronounce that. Ji Ma, of course, this guy who's in virtually everything. Rosalind Chow, Chang Pei Pei, she's always great to see. And then, of course, you've got Ron Wan. I like Ron Wan. Every time I see him, I'm usually enjoying whatever I'm watching. We all know the story of Mulan. The Emperor of China has called for a man from every family to come and join the army for war, and her family doesn't have any men except for her father, who is elderly and is an old war hero. He only has daughters, and so she steps up, she leaves and takes his place undercover as a man in disguise, which will bring dishonor to her family, unless, she is good at it, I guess. This is, of course, a live-action remake of the Ming-Na Wen starred film. I can't remember what year it came out. The 90s, I think. I was 3, maybe. And it does differ from that animated film's story. You don't get certain elements. While you do definitely get mystical, wuxia fantasy-style elements, you don't get certain things like Mushu. And I think the reason we don't get Mushu is because they saw the backlash of people freaking out that Will Smith was going to be Genie, saying that no one could replace Robin Williams, and they were right. And maybe no one could replace, I can't remember his name all of a sudden, Eddie Murphy, and that's probably the case. I know a lot of people were like, oh my god, we're going to get Kevin Hart as Mushu. I don't want Kevin Hart as Mushu. I don't particularly want Mushu. So there's no Mushu, and we do have some different villains, including a woman who is a witch, or she is labeled a witch by everyone in the film, and those are really the main differences. Everything else is just about exactly the same. I enjoyed the film for the most part. I did have a few problems, but I will talk about them in a bit. There was some training sequences that I really did enjoy. You get a lot of the similar stuff to the animated movie with the arrows and all that stuff, and the staff and spear training. That was actually a really cool moment. That was a really cool fight scene, but we'll get to that in a bit. There was a moment where Mulan and the other soldiers are training by carrying water buckets out to the side, and they have to climb this mountain while holding buckets up. And I love that so much because it just immediately makes me start thinking of 36th Chamber of Shaolin. The only thing it was missing is like knives on the arm so that if they drop, they stab themselves. Maybe that's a bit too grim for Disney. I enjoyed most of the characters. I liked the new villains, especially one of them. I enjoyed most of the protagonists, some of the soldiers who are mostly like kids. They're like young adults, teenagers, which is sort of, that's the reason that they act out as much as they do. Some of them are just a little bit annoying, just a little bit. It's a little bit frat housey, which I guess it's supposed to be. They're turning boys into men, I guess. Not that boys to men. A different boys to men. I always appreciate seeing Donnie Yen in an American film. He definitely got a lot more to do here than he did in Rogue One. I'm not sure if he got more to do here than he did in XXX Return of Xander Cage, because as much as I love Tony Jaa and Donnie Yen, I never got around to seeing that one, because Vin Diesel. But I enjoyed Donnie Yen in this. Donnie Yen was very good. All the actors, most of the performances in this were all pretty solid. I enjoyed a lot of the choices made throughout the story that did differ it from the original. I enjoyed how the villains and the protagonist. Actually, I enjoyed some of the relationships between certain characters along those lines. One thing that did bug me is the choices this film made with narration. I don't hate narration. Narration does not really bug me too much unless you're a CW show. Then narration kind of gets on my nerves. But there are some ways that they use narration to explain character development that the film would benefit from just cutting that narration altogether. Don't have somebody, a disembodied voice, tell me how a character is evolving. Show me this character evolving. And it's stupid, kind of, because shortly after we hear this narration explain the character development, we actually do see this character development. I wish it would have been acted out just a little bit more for a few more minutes, explained more through action and whatnot. But yeah, we get this narration and then we see it. And if you just cut that narration out, show it to us. You don't need to tell me if I'm about to see it. But what about the action? The action, for the most part, is very solid. It is very wuxia inspired. I watched this morning with my girlfriend, who was commenting that a lot of it looked really fake, and I just kept telling her, like, that's kind of the whole idea. I think that the reason, someone jumping around and whatnot looks fake is because this is a heavily wuxia inspired film. Wuxia films, even the best, are going to look janky because it's odd to see someone flying around from tree to tree or whatever. It's not normal, so it's going to look weird. So I think that looking odd and fake is done mostly on purpose, and I liked it. It is fun to see wuxia elements in a Hollywood film, especially one in this setting. One thing that did bug me is they tried to, I guess, ignore sort of some action. And you don't need to show blood. I don't believe you need to show blood. And we've seen that in a lot of current action movies with, like, the Marvel films. You see people get cut, stabbed, whatever in Marvel films, and you never see an ounce of blood. We've seen Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, like, slit a dude's throat, but we don't really see anything happen. You can show action without showing bloodshed. But the movie shows all the wuxia elements and only hints at what could be happening with the choreography. You get a little bit of it with each different character. Each character kind of has their own moment to do something cool, especially Donnie Yen. His stuff was just beautiful. Donnie Yen has some, like, training moments in this that are just gorgeous kung fu. But certain fight scenes ended up being just a little anticlimactic because it wasn't much of a fight scene, and they don't really show too much happening. And I have an idea as to why that would be. I will speculate here and say I think that this movie is supposed to be huge in the Chinese market. The Chinese market is extremely important to Hollywood, and based on some wuxia sort of Chinese fantasy action films I've seen in the past few years, they are trying to get away from kung fu and those sort of fight scenes, unless you're a Donnie Yen movie maybe. And so what they do is they show, like, this big epic action scene, and they'll throw in, oh, look at this fire, look at this person fighting this huge monster, and they won't show you just two people going at it. It's really annoying, and I think that because this movie is going to be so huge to the Chinese market, maybe they wanted to comply more with the way they make action and big epic films, and so that is just a bit annoying because I'm not really a fan of how China is currently making their huge action movies. But as I said, the little bit that we do get to see, especially the stuff with Donnie Yen, is pretty much a chef's kiss of martial arts action. I really enjoyed everything we do get to see. I just really wish that we got to see more. One small detail I wanted to touch on was I wish that this movie would have been more beautiful. And it is a gorgeous looking movie, but it's not gorgeous, I think, from a cinematography standpoint. I think it's relying on its beauty simply for the landscapes that it's filming. And I think it could have done so much more in set design and all that stuff. Because I think that with something like this, especially with the Disney budget, you can get, like, some Zhang Yimou level beauty, use of color, anything like that. And it just didn't try for that. And it, sure, if that's not what it wanted to be, but that's just, I think it could have done so much more in terms of set design, cinematography, just to make it a more visually impressive film. For those not familiar with Zhang Yimou, Jet Li's hero, the use of color in that film is perfect. I think he did House of Flying Daggers, which again, a very visually excellent film. He recently did Shadow, which is this crazy impressive use of how to use black and white as a color palette, and making his films, the Shadow specifically, look almost like an old Chinese painting. He's a master at what he does, and I thought that this film could have done some similar stuff to that, and unfortunately it didn't. But overall, a story that I, for the most part, quite enjoyed, except for that aggravating use of narration. Some really well done wushu, wuxia sort of elements. The kung fu in it, whenever you got to see it, was quite good. Overall, I'm going to give this film 3 amazing Donnie Yens out of 5. Have you seen the new Mulan? It just came out today as I am recording this. It is Friday the 4th? Yes, it is the 4th. What did you think? Tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below. What is your favorite moment? What's your favorite character? I enjoyed Jason Scott Lee. He is always fun, and I wish he did more movies, but I understand if he is just a chill dude hanging out in Hawaii, living his life. I think that's what he's doing. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Head over to Facebook, where you can now like and follow Martial Arts Film Freak over there. I post fight scenes, I post pictures and all that stuff from different kung fu movies throughout time. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.